The Ain't No Fang podcast. From Arizona Sports, Ain't No Fang.
Hello and welcome into Ain't No Fang, Arizona Sports Diamondbacks podcast. I'm Alex Weiner with Ali Nerini, and we just watched one of, on the list of crazy Diamondbacks games that we've had this year, it's certainly at the top of the list, but
Right.
I don't know if it's number one or if it's number five.
Definitely number one this season, I think, so far.
For
So,
wins,
yeah.
it's definitely number
Yeah.
one in terms
Yeah.
of craziest wins of the season,
Yeah.
because it's also a historic win. So the Diamondbacks went into Atlanta. They won the first two. They enter Thursday's game needing a win to complete the sweep, and they go down 6-0 in the third inning. Brandon Pfaadt can't overcome an early error, and it just kind of snowballs on them. They're down 6-0, then they fall down 9-3, then they're down 10-4 with 2 outs to play with in the top of the ninth inning. And they come back and they win the game with 7-run rally. And so with that, they are now 1-419 when they enter the ninth inning, down by 6 or more runs.
Yeah.
So the Diamondbacks get the sweep of Atlanta. It was just an avalanche of offense in the in the ninth inning to score those 7 runs. Ali, you were cutting the game together. You were training somebody to cut the game together. What
Good
was it like?
It was good practice for him, for sure, to get used to those late inning or late game runs. But yeah, it was definitely like fire was going off the keyboard because I was constantly labeling, hit runs, and all that stuff. So yeah, it was crazy.
So Gino Suarez strikes out to lead off the top of the ninth inning, and at that point, you look at all the win probabilities on wherever site you're looking. It was like 99.9% the Braves are going to win this game.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, the Diamondbacks, they got the first 2. Good starts from Kelly, good start from Gallen. Pfaadt didn't have it. You move on to Cincinnati. You look to stack wins, and you look to stack series wins. But then Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hits a home run. Solo shot, whatever, not much there. A walk to Tim Tawa, and then Alek Thomas hits a 2-run shot off of Scott Blewett. And at that point, it's like, okay, you get a couple base runners on, you make them sweat a little bit. This can give you some momentum. I still didn't think that they were going to win that game.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for that moment to be like, okay, well, the inning's going to end, right?
Time.
Is this going to end? Okay, it kept going and going, so yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, it just keeps on going. They walk Jose Herrera on 4 pitches. That was a big sign that a storm is coming for the Braves here with the top of the order coming up. They turn to Raisel Iglesias, who has not had a good year. He's the Braves closer, but he's got a 6.75 ERA, I believe. Corbin Carroll, 0-2, digs out a changeup for a double. Ketel Marte, really good approach, hits the ball the other way into the hole. It's an infield single. And then Perdomo pops up. So there's 2 outs. They're still trailing, but they got 2 runners on, and this is where it gets a little bit weird because earlier in the game they removed Josh Naylor. Torey Lovullo said after the game that it was hand and shoulder discomfort. He'd been kind of banged up the last however long and playing through it. So they took him out and they replaced him with Ildemaro Vargas. Did you think they were going to pinch hit for Ildemaro Vargas at this point?
Yeah, I would think so, considering his record so far, after being called up here in the majors. So
I think he was 0 for 4 at that point.
Yeah, at that point.
They had Gabby Moreno on the bench, who's been red hot. They had Randall Grichuk on the bench. It would be right on right.
Yeah.
But they opted to keep the switch hitter in there. And they had already used Pavin Smith. They already pinch hit for him. So they show trust in Ildemaro Vargas, who keeps popping up with the Diamondbacks, and in a huge spot, pokes a base hit up the middle in what's got to be one of the biggest hits of his Diamondbacks career for sure. I know he's had a couple earlier in stints, but that's definitely going to be climbing up the list. And then afterwards, Gino Suarez, who led off the inning with a strikeout, 3-2 count. Iglesias throws this changeup down and in, and he just gets his hands into it, drives it down the left field line, and all of a sudden, this avalanche is finished. They have an 11-10 lead.
The boos come out in Atlanta, for sure.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Atlanta lost this game and was so down bad afterwards that they recalled. They selected Craig Kimbrell.
Oh, okay.
from the minor leagues because after he was with the Orioles last year, they signed him to a minor league deal, and now the reunion is on because they're in such a difficult spot and they need another bullpen arm.
Yeah.
But with that win, the Diamondbacks sweep the Braves. That's their first sweep since they swept Miami back in April. It's now a 4-game winning streak, and they are undefeated in June. And they are also back up to 500. There are a lot of notes from this series, but to start with this game itself, I guess what is your main takeaway from this? Whether it's fought, whether it's the offense coming alive at the end, staying in it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. I mean, fought obviously struggled a little bit there, and then they brought in
Tommy Henry.
Yes, and I was impressed with what he did. I thought he went 3 2/3,
4 innings today, and 3 runs,
7 strikeouts.
7 strikeouts
For that little bit of time. That was quality, outing for him. I think is where he just was able to produce 7 strikeouts within that little bit of time. So I was impressed with what I saw with Tommy Henry today. And then Shelby Miller got the save, correct? And
Shelby Miller got the save. Yeah, they didn't have Justin Martinez, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shelby Miller came in and locked it down to end the game with a double play.
Yeah. So starting pitching still obviously is just it's a struggle right now. But the fact that the offense came alive in those last innings that mattered, that's what I was most happy about.
This offense is so interesting, right? Because they'll have lulls, and we saw that a little bit yesterday too, where they score early, and then it's just a whole lot of nothing for a lot of the game, and Merrill Kelly is pitching with a 1-run lead the entire time, and then they get a scratch run late, which ended up being huge. And in this game, it starts off a little bit slow. They don't really get anything going in the first couple of innings, but then you can just have this onslaught at the end of the game where it feels like you can't get them out.
Yeah.
And they've done this before. Obviously, the Cubs game is the extreme example where they scored 10 runs in a single inning. They still lost that game, but it just kind of proves that for a lot of the doubts or maybe poor feelings that this team had left after they had fallen 4 games below 500 and were really reeling there, that they can always put themselves back into a game with the way that this offense can operate. And I think that was one of the lessons of this series, because it had been a little bit since we'd seen quite that level of offensive,
burst of energy.
Exactly. We saw it in the series opener, but that was mostly spread out. They'd scored runs in 5 of the 9 innings, and that's what you want to see as a team continuously add pressure. But then we just see this one inning where they come completely off, and I think that's a big deal when it comes to just all right, remember, this offense is one of the best in the league. Here's an exhibit of why, and even though it's not as consistent as maybe some of the other top offenses, they have the firepower and they have the ability to do this.
Yeah.
Back to the starting pitching, because obviously fought. It just felt like he got off to a decent start, and a 2-out walk cost him in the second inning, and a run ended up scoring. And he was going to get out of the third inning with no runs allowed if Ketel Marte doesn't commit an error there. And that just really snowballed on him in a way that we kind of saw it snowball on him when he hit a couple of batters against the Nationals. He's going to have to break out of this, because this is a pitcher who, through 9 of his first 11 starts, gave you at least 5 2/3 innings. And it just gave you a chance to win every single time he went out there, even if it wasn't always the prettiest. He's going to have to bounce out of this pretty quickly, especially if we don't know what's going on with Corbin Burnes.
And I know before on our last show, we were talking about the struggles with Zach Gallen, but it's getting to pot now that we like you said, he producing very, very well outings before especially that last start he had where he gave up 9 runs in the first inning, really, So he's somebody that I'm hoping will just kind of just get out of the rut that he's in. But I can't pinpoint really what the problem is, if it's his location or if it's his pitch, the pitches he's throwing or what. But yeah, it's something he needs to kind of find out pretty soon here.
Yeah, it seems like just pitch execution is the main thing, as simple as that sounds. And just, not letting one mistake turn into 4 or 5 mistakes. So hopefully, with the way that he started off the season, he'll be able to battle out of this, but he's in a bit of a grind right now. As for the other two, Zach Gallen was unbelievably good in the series opener. And we had just talked about it. I think our podcast posted right as the game was starting, how much the eyes are on Zach Gallen. If Corbin Burnes is going to miss significant time, we still don't exactly know the timetable with Burnes, but that looked as good as Zach Gallen has looked for most of the season. I know he's had a couple of other really, really good outings, one against a couple against the Mets, one against the Yankees. But just his ability to command all of his pitches, that was Zach Gallen at the top of his game. And they needed it to kind of get off on the right foot in a good series. And then Merrill Kelly last night was just pinpointing everything that he needed to do with all of his pitches. The changeup was disgusting. The cutter was working really well. The way that he was able to kind of manipulate the strike zone and keep guys off balance, that's a talented Braves lineup that looked way out of sorts when they were facing him.
And it's looking like that World Series year where you had that 1-2 punch with Gallen and Kelly.
They're gonna need it.
So yeah, now like that's good that they're basically playing off of each other, and having the momentum of Gallen starting the series and pitching how well he pitched, and then Merrill Kelly coming in. I mean, granted, now Fod kind of struggled, but still, I think that's the momentum that the team needed to pull out the win today.
Yeah. Really good series win, not only because they swept, but just in the way they did it and were able to beat them in different ways. As I mentioned, Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll having a game like that where they're both that hot in the same game. We haven't seen that a ton. We haven't really seen it this year. That was the first time that they had homered in the same game this year. First time I think they had multiple hits in the same game for a while. But they combined for 4 home runs on the day. Ketel reached base 5 times. Corbin reached base 4 times. And they just kind of took off and really corralled that win for them, along with Zach Gallen. That was kind of like the stars showed up kind of the game. And then it was Merrill Kelly versus Chris Sale. Pitchers duel, old school, with just like Kelly goes 7 shutout, Chris Sale 6 innings, 1 earned run. Nobody could really find a rhythm offensively. And then it turned into this weird, like, hold on for dear life, like scratching at the side of a cliff kind of a win where, they bring in Ryan Thompson because Shelby Miller was down. And Thompson gives up 2 hits. There's runners on second and third with 1 out by the time he comes out of the game. And they bring in J Mart for a 5-out save. Huge couple of strikeouts for Justin Martinez. And then he comes back up on the up-down. And we've seen him, at least last year, have a little bit of trouble coming back out for that second inning and finding success. And then that 9th inning was a complete adventure where it felt like they could have got out of it earlier if they turned a double play. It was a little bit slow developing. They weren't able to get it done. He ends up walking 3 batters. He hits a batter. He walks in a run. Thank goodness they got the insurance run in the top of the 9th. And then when he had to make the biggest pitch of the game, he was able to get the strikeout that he needed. So it was sort of like, J Mart, wasn't great in terms of his ability to hit the strike zone because I think it was like 17 out of 37 were strikes. But when he had to make the big pitch, that's your guy you're going to turn to in those critical moments to make the big pitch.
Yeah, that was a moment that I definitely cut that highlight. Where he left the bases loaded because it was such a big out that he needed, and that ultimately led to the team winning yesterday. So, that was a big production that I think J Mart had in that game yesterday.
Yeah. So good signs for there, and then obviously today's game is totally different, where you fall down by 1 million and you were able to somehow come back. The Diamondbacks, they are now back to 500. They are going to Cincinnati for a 3-game series. Eduardo Rodriguez is going to come back. We'll see how that looks. Ryan Nelson's going to jump back in the rotation. We'll see how that looks. He's been pretty good. And then Zach Gallen is back on the mound for the finale there. So really exciting series against the Braves. The first time, and you mentioned this as we were jumping on there, that's the first time they swept Atlanta in Atlanta since 2019. So it's been a minute. Plus, they also win the season series against the Braves.
Which can be huge come down the line.
It could be. The Braves are kind of in the rut right now. But again, it's still a talented team, and you never know. But having that tiebreaker in the back pocket, as long as you continue to collect those, win series, win season series, because they haven't had a great, they haven't had a great time doing that so far this year. Like the Nationals got them and the Cubs got them. They tied with the Mets. So to get that and put that in your back pocket to save that for maybe if it comes up later in the year, it's nice to have for sure. So let's see if they can keep it rolling. For Ali Nerini, I'm Alex Weiner. Thanks so much for watching and listening to Ain't No Fang, Arizona Sports Diamondbacks podcast. Keep it locked in on Arizona Sports as the D-backs take on the Reds this weekend.